used to stalk me. So a little background information. My parents and I moved into a new house that was literally 5 minutes from where I used to live. But I went to private school, and almost all the other kids in my town went to the public school. So I didn't really know a lot of the kids in my town. Well, a week after we moved in, our neighbors across the street invited us to a barbecue. While we were there, I started talking to our neighbor's older son, and him and I started to get along really well, like in a flirty way. Their older son was a senior, I was a sophomore, and their younger son was a freshman. Well, I kind of talked to the younger son, but he was just like giving me really weird vibes. So for the next few weeks, I started hanging out with their older son a lot, and we would talk all the time. Well, the one day whenever I went over their house, it was super weird. His younger brother kept saying, "Oh, I think I know you from somewhere. Like, I swear I know you." And I'm just like, okay. Well, the one morning I was waiting outside for my mom to pick me up because she worked night shifts and she would just grab me and then take me to my school. And I saw him in his window watching me like for part 2. Part 2 about the boy across the street who used to stalk me. So like I said, I saw him watching me outside his window, but I didn't want to overthink it, so I was just like, no, maybe he's looking at something else. Well, this all started a month after I moved in. Well, it started happening more frequently, so then I told his older brother. We're just going to call the younger brother Mac. So he talked to Mac, and then everything was fine for a week. Just a little information real quick. For the public school, the bus would arrive at 7:40. My private school started at 7 o'clock. So my mom would come and get me at 6:15 because my school was kind of far away. So like I said, it was a week later. Every morning that I would go outside to wait for my mom, Mac would be standing on his porch watching me. Oh, but it gets worse. So one night I was in my bedroom, right? And this is like some scary movie I kept seeing something run past my window. My bedroom was on the first floor. So I told my dad about it, and he put cameras outside. Well, Mac's older brother told me that Mac was always interested in my life. So me being a smart-ass bitch, I told his older brother that our cameras didn't work, like for part 3. Part 3 about the boy that lived across the street who used to stalk me. So like I said, I told his older brother that our cameras didn't work anymore, knowing that he would tell Mac. Because he had it in his head for some reason that Mac wasn't obsessed with me. And the reason why I told him our cameras didn't work was because Mac was watching while the cameras were being set up outside. And after that, everything stopped. Except he would still be outside every single morning on his fucking porch watching me. So the one night while I'm sleeping, I wake up to some noise right outside my window. And my bed was on the same wall as the window, so I could see who was right outside my window, but they couldn't see me. Well, I look, and guess who the fuck it is? It's Mac trying to get inside of my fucking window. So I quietly call my dad, and it's like 3 in the morning. So I tell my dad what's going on. So he goes outside and nobody's there. Well, the next day we check the cameras. There's footage of him jerking off outside my window, trying to break into my room with a fucking crowbar. Luckily, I was staying at a friend's that night. Taking pictures of me outside my window. So we showed his parents. Then we moved and they sent him to a mental hospital.
Story time about one of the most embarrassing things that has ever happened to me in high school. So a little background information. I was in my freshman year of high school. Well, spring break was coming up. Well, the whole year, my friend and I hadn't been to one single party. So we decided that we wanted to try and go to a party every single day of spring break, which was about to be super difficult because we had to worry about my strict-ass parents and my neighbors. A little background info on my neighbor. My neighbor is this girl who's in my same grade, and she literally hates my guts. I don't know why, but literally anything that I do, she'll go and she'll tell her mom, and then her mom will tell my mom, because my mom and her mom are best friends. But before we know it, Saturday comes around, and we go back to school on Monday. We did not make it to one single party. Well, later that night, we found out that one of our friends was throwing one. So around 11 o'clock, everybody's sleeping, and I walk out my back door, hop over my fence, and I start heading towards the road where my friend was going to be parked. You know, who do I see fucking sitting outside on their porch reading a fucking book? My fucking neighbor, like for part 2. Part 2 about the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to me in high school. So like I said, the bitch that I hate is sitting out on her porch reading a fucking book at 11 o'clock at night. So I crouch down so she couldn't see me, I run to the car, and my friend and I finally go to the party. Well, we get to that party and it's really boring, so we decided to go to a different one. And the party that we were about to go through was being thrown by the kid that I really liked. So I start hanging out with him when we get there. I'm drinking a lot, having so much fun, and I really have to go to the bathroom. And I didn't know where anything was at all, so I grabbed my friend and we're looking around everywhere for the bathroom. Because when I asked him, he was super drunk and really couldn't explain to me where the bathroom was. So we were pretty much left to fend for ourselves. But we ended up not being able to find a bathroom, and this is where I had to improvise. So my friend and I go to the laundry room, and we see the litter box in there for the cat. Well, at this point, I was desperate, so I just went in the litter box. Well, 30 minutes later, the cops show up to the party. And everybody had to hurry up and leave because we did not want to get underages. Like for part 3, Part 3 about the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to me in high school. So like I said, I went in the litter box and then the cop showed up. We all ran because we didn't want to get underages. I was able to sneak back into my house without anybody knowing. But when I get to school on Monday, everybody's talking about the party. And apparently the kid that I liked who threw the party, his parents didn't know that he threw one at all. And this was like during first period. So I went to text him and ask him if he was grounded because we were supposed to hang out the next day. And I realized that I am blocked. So I'm thinking, why does he have me blocked? So I told my friend that he blocked me, and she goes, it's probably because he saw what you did in the laundry room. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, there's no fucking way that he knows. Because there was a door that led to the outside in the laundry room, there were cameras in there. So everybody saw this video of me. People were posting it on their Finstas, posting it on their Snapchat stories. It was so fucking embarrassing. Not to mention, the bitch that I hate who lives next door showed my parents the fucking video, and I was grounded for fucking 4 months.
Story time about the boy who pretended to like me to get closer to my best friend. A little background information. It was the summer before my freshman year of high school, and my best friend and I got bored of hanging out with the same people, so we got a membership to a new pool. And this one was closer to one of our rival schools, so a lot of people that we didn't know went there. Well, the one day while we're there, we meet this group of boys. And by the way, my friend is super pretty. Like, all the guys immediately gravitate towards her, and I'm kind of like the duff, aka designated ugly fat friend. Anyways, while she's over there talking to all the boys, I'm sitting down at one of the tables. And one of the boys from the group comes over to me and starts talking to me. And he was being super sweet. And then he's like, oh, I don't know why all of them are over there talking to her. Like, she's not even that pretty. He was like, to be honest, you're way better looking than her. Now listen, I know I might seem like a bad friend for this, but I never had that male validation before, so that kind of made me feel good. Well, fast forward, his best friend and my best friend start dating, like for part 2. Part 2 about how this guy used me to get with my best friend. Like I said, they started dating. The boy that I was talking to at the pool, we're going to call him Luke. Well, Luke's best friend was dating my best friend. Fast forward 2 months, Luke's saying how he wants to date me and stuff like that, but it's not the right time. And every time that I would ask Luke to hang out, he would only hang out if my best friend was there. Red flag alert. Anyways, I didn't see that red flag. So Luke and his best friend go to this party. And apparently I was told that there was this girl there that was really hot. And Luke was saying to his best friend, oh, you should hook up with her. She's totally into you. Your girlfriend won't find out because she doesn't even know any of the people at this party. So he hooks up with the girl there. Then Luke calls me and says, OMG, like he cheated on your best friend. So I immediately call my best friend to tell her. And because she likes to talk to Luke about all her problems, she calls him. So he goes over there to comfort her. I didn't hear anything from them till a week after. My best friend posted him on her story and goes, my new boo.
Shocked look on his face, and he hung it up and he turned to us and he said, everybody sit down, be quiet, the bell's going to ring in a couple minutes, you're going to stay seated. And then he went over to the doors and he locked them. And we were just like, oh, what is happening? And at first some of us were like, well, is it a bomb threat? Because we used to get bomb threats all the time, but then we realized that doesn't make sense because when we get a bomb threat, they evacuate us. And then we're like, is there some type of killer in the school? Is there a weather alert? Is there a terrorist attack? And none of us knew anything. The teacher wouldn't answer any questions. He was told not to. And the bell rang and we all stayed seated and we sat there for a really, really long time. And then the next bell rang, which means a whole other class period had passed. And still he said, stay seated. And I can't tell you how long we were trapped in this room and nobody was telling us what was going on. We're all getting really scared and panicking.
Because we had never had a situation like this and we had practiced so many drills, so many, if there's a bomb, we all go to the band lot. If there's a tornado, we all go to the basement. If there's a fire, we take these exits on this side. We always had a plan, and this was just something that we had never planned and nobody was telling us anything. So eventually they're texting their parents and calling their parents and they're saying, do you know anything about this? And the parents are all freaking out and now it's like an ordeal. Some of the parents started listening to the police scanners and it was getting back to us that there were ambulances outside of our school and we're just like, and at this point a lot of us are panicking because we think there's some type of shooter or something, because that makes sense. Like, okay, the doors are locked, they're telling us to be quiet, they're telling us not to move, they're telling us not to leave, there's ambulances outside. And finally they just opened the doors and let us go, and they wouldn't tell us anything still. So we're just like, okay, we just sat in this classroom for like hours, there's ambulances outside of our school, and you're just gonna let us go to our next class? So you can probably tell by the title of this video what happened. A girl died in class during school hours. And here's the story on that. So earlier in that day, around like first, second period, somebody sold her a bunch of Oxycontins. She, during school, took all of them. She ended up going to her 7th period class at 3rd period, and she walked in and the teacher was like, honey, what are you doing here? And she said, oh, I'm here for class. And the teacher was like, you're not here until later, honey. It's only 3rd period. And I wasn't here for this, but supposedly when she walked away, she said to somebody else, oh, she's on something, or she's drunk or something. But it was obvious that she was on something. So she went a couple classes later and she put her head down on the desk. She was sleeping and she was just kind of one of those students who, showed up late and slept in class. Obviously didn't show a ton of interest. He was an amazing teacher. He was a caring teacher, but he didn't wake her up. For I don't know what reason it was. I don't know if he just thought, you can only try so hard to make somebody interested in class. I don't know if he figured, she could really use the sleep, just let her nap. But that class was over and the bell rang and everybody got up, but she stayed seated laying on her desk like this with her head down, and she wasn't getting up. So somebody who was sitting next to her nudged her and was like, hey, wake up, class is over. And she didn't move, and then she nudged her a little harder to wake her up, and that is when her arm fell completely limp to the side of the desk. So obviously at this point people start panicking. They roll her over and she is completely blue. I don't know how long she was out. I don't know how long she wasn't breathing, but she had completely OD'd and had not been receiving oxygen for enough time to turn her blue. That is when the ambulances were called. That is when the school was put on lockdown. She was taken out, obviously, and she died that day.
Every time that happened in 2nd grade. So my teacher never allowed fidget spinners, and my friend always brought one to school because that was the only thing that helped us focus. But every time she saw it, she would take it, and she would never return it even though she said she was. So me and my friend, I'm gonna call her Jalen, and my other friend, I'm gonna name her Caitlin. So me, Jalen, and Caitlin all had this plan to sneak into school and take our fidget spinners. So at recess, we had this plan spot behind the tree, and we would all talk about it. This girl even didn't eat her lunch because her teacher took away her fidget spinner. Anyway, we all had this plan to sneak in school and break the windows, go in class and steal all our fidget spinners and give them back to the owners. But every time we talk about it, we'd get caught by this one kid named Nathan, and he would all go tell the teacher. But the teacher didn't care, obviously, because she knew we weren't going to do it. Like for part 2 of the fidget spinners. Okay, so as you know, Nathan was going to tell on us, and the teacher obviously didn't believe us because we were little kids and he knew we wouldn't do that. So we all had a plan that the next day we would all meet up at the playground in the school at 6 p.m. So that day, no one showed up. I didn't even show up. And the next day at school, we all got mad at each other for not showing up, and we all said we showed up, but you guys didn't. And I didn't show up. My friend didn't show up. None of us showed up, but we just lied about showing up. So we just gave up, and we just never did it again because we knew we would never get our fidget spinners. Tell me if you want more.
When I was little, I found my mom's credit card, and being a 6-year-old, I saw my mom putting the credit card on her phone, and I knew how she did it. So I decided that I was going to put it on my phone. So I put it on my phone, and I was downloading Roblox because I thought, hey, I can play with my friends here. That day, I spent $2,000 worth of freaking money on Robux. Let's just say a lot of my friends thought I was really cool and rich. When my mom found out, I hid from her for seriously like a day, and then once I got in there, she wasn't mad. She just said I was Captain Robux.
Okay, story time. So one time at school, in the girls' toilets, this girl, let's just call her Diana, went to the toilets, and she had a crush on this guy. Let's just call him Sebastian. So she had a crush on Sebastian. So what she would do every day is in the toilet cubicles, get a pencil, and draw like hearts, his name, her name, and all that weird stuff. Then one day, the janitor was coming to go clean up the girls' toilets. And when he went into that cubicle, he saw all the writing on the wall. He was so mad, and because it was our class toilets, he went to our class. He told the teacher, and the teacher got furious. We all got into detention, and the teacher demanded us to to say which one of us did this. I know I didn't do it, and I didn't know anything about it. And that girl raised her hand and said, Oliver, part 2. Part 2. So as Diana raised her hand, the bell rang. When the bell rang, everyone went to go get ready. And then at recess, I went to go and look in the toilets. I went into the cubicle that Diana always goes into, and I saw that hers and Sebastian's name were in a love heart. That's how I had my proof, and I knew it was her. So in the middle of recess, I went to the teacher. I showed her my proof. Diana got detention for a month. And yeah, follow for more